In this exercise, we will create a text effect by using some new types of layers: a camera, a light, and an adjustment layer. We will add some effects onto our masked solids to create the illusion of depth. There's a lot going on in this short composition, so take it step by step. First, create a new composition. Create a new text layer. Go to Layer, New, Text. Use a bold typeface. Center it with the Align menu. Precompose the text layer. Hold down Control and click, or right-click on the layer and choose Precompose. Rename this Title. Make it a 3D layer by clicking on the 3D box in the Timeline Layer menu. Make a floor. Go to Layer, New, Solid. Choose a gray color. Make this a 3D layer. Drag it below the title layer. The 3D layer designation doesn't make your objects literally 3D, but they allow you to move the objects in 3D space. The arrow in the composition window has all three axes: X, Y, and Z. In the composition window, turn on two views. One view should be active camera, the other from the left or right, so you can see the order of 3D objects in space from the side. To change the view of one of the screens, click on it. Once it is selected, it will have blue corners. Then go to the menu and change the view. You can also change the zoom view of each screen. Make these adjustments to your floor layer. The X rotation should be 90 degrees. The Y position should be just below the text layer. Scale it up so that it covers the foreground. Your numbers may be different than mine, but it should look like this, covering the foreground and just below the text. Make another solid background. This time leave it black. And leave it 2D. This will be your background. Rename and order your layers. Enabling 3D allows your layer to be modified by light and camera layers. Make a camera layer. Go to Layer, New, Camera. Make it 28 millimeters. This is a view on your scene. If the position of the camera changes, then the view of the 3D layers will change. Make a light layer. Go to Layer, New, Light. Make sure that it's a point light. Make sure that the intensity is high, in this case 500%. And make sure that the Cast Shadows box is checked. Push the light layer back into 3D space using the blue Z arrow or the last position number. It should be behind everything in the side view. In the title layer material options, make sure that Cast Shadows is turned on. Adjust the position of the light with the X, Y, Z arrows to adjust your shadows. Double-click on the light layer at any time to adjust its settings. At this point, here's what your layer order should be. Your light and camera layer should be on top, the title pre-comp, which is 3D, the floor, which is also 3D, and then the background, which is 2D. To make our light source, go to Layer, New, Solid. Make it white. Name this layer Volumetric Light. Draw an ellipse mask on your solid layer, Hold down Shift while drawing it to make a perfect circle. Make this a 3D layer. Type AA to bring up the material options for the ellipse and make sure that Accepts Light is turned off. Push the ellipse back into Z space, but in front of the light. Create a new adjustment layer. Go to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer. This adjustment layer should be on top of all the layers, except for the camera and the light. Make a radial fast blur effect. Go to the Effects panel and search Radial Fast Blur. Drag the effect onto the adjustment layer. Set the zoom to brightest. Turn up the amount. This all looks fine, but if we want the scene to move and the source to move with it, then we need to connect the radial fast blur to move with the point light so that it travels with the light source, making it a believable effect. So to do that, let's make a null object. Go to Layer, New, Null Object. Make this a 3D layer. Push this null object behind the light in Z space. Control-click on it and rename it Point. Add an expression to the radial fast blur by holding down Option and clicking the center stopwatch. Grab the pick whip on the effect expression and drag it to the point layer. Add this to the expression, .toComp, bracket, bracket, 0, 0, 0, bracket, bracket. Now the source follows the light. Add a curves effect in the adjustment layer. In the effects panel, search Curves and drag it onto the adjustment layer. By adjusting the point in at the bottom left, you limit the shadows. And by bringing up the point at the top right, you create more contrast. Change the adjustment layer mode to Screen. Now you will see more of the full layer of text. Add a camera move so that the scene moves. Use 2 keyframes on the Y position axis to pan the camera across the text. Let's add some noise between the text and the light source for a more 3D looking effect. Create a new solid layer. Go to Layer, New, Solid. Make it white. Name it Fractal Noise. Draw an ellipse on the layer to mask it out. Make it a 3D layer. Go to the material options and make sure that Accepts Lights is off. Go to the effects panel and search Fractal Noise. Drag it onto the solid layer. While I work on this layer, I'm going to solo it by hitting the solo button in the timeline. In the effect, change fractal type from basic to dynamic. In the mask properties, feather the ellipse mask. Add a curves effect to the solid layer and increase the contrast. Drag the fractal layer below the title and push it back in the Z space of the composition. Unsolo the view by clicking on the solo box on the layer. Scale up the fractal layer as necessary. Add some keyframes in the fractal evolution for subtle change throughout. Adjust the color settings in the curves to create the desired color effect on the light source. Change the fractal layer mode to screen. To change the color effect on the shadows, change the color setting in the curves of the adjustment layer. When you are satisfied, export with Media Encoder.